Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this discussion on topics that's central to everything that we do to empower our retail customers at Microsoft. Reimagining frontline workers' experiences through stores transformation. I'm Sue McMahon, the Director of Partner Strategy for Retail and Consumer Goods at Microsoft, and I'll be your host. Today, we're very fortunate to have our incredible partner, HCLTech, leading us in this discussion, joined by a top retail analyst from IDC Research. In addition to that, we have two retailers participating in the panel discussion today as well, so it's bound to be a robust dialogue. Now let's jump right in with introductions. Anil, would you care to get us started?
To introduce myself, my name is Anil. I have been working with HCL for the last 23 years, based out of Dallas, and lead our efforts to take our solutions to retail and CPG sector here in the Americas. I am quite passionate about what technology can bring to the business. And as we live in this world of AI and everything, our efforts are how can we bring data and technology together and apply it to the lives of people that use it, everyday workers in retail, to be our context today.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Shobit Kumar, and I'm dialing in from London. It's probably one of the most exciting retail markets, and I'm with HCLTech. I lead the business with consumer industries within the UK and Europe.
So hi everyone, I'm Arun Bhadvaj, working as Group Manager in HCLTech. I'm a digital workplace practitioner and have been helping our customers for the last 10 years in transforming their workplaces into a modern digital workplace through technology as a lever.
Hello, everyone. My name is Don Ward. I am the CEO of Laundress Corporation, which is based out of Austin, Texas. We're an autonomous inventory management platform startup that's been around for the last 6 years. And think of us in the same sense of an Amazon Go type of technology, but as opposed to using camera-based technology, we are using scanners and readers to track inventory movement in and out of enterprise operations. We specifically focus on hotels, and we'll be moving into the healthcare segment. And think of us again as straight physical to digital, taking AI-based information to help these customers make business decisions in real time.
Good morning, everyone. Mati Kaiser, Vice President for End User Support and Services with Dollar General. I support over 19,000 stores in the US, and now we're starting in Mexico to provide our customers with a delightful shopping experience to fulfill the needs of their family.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening into our discussion this morning. So Leslie Hand, I've been at IDC here leading our retail industry insights practice for about 15 years, but that was after spending twice as long as that in retail on the technology and technology strategy side of the house. So happy to just kick off this conversation today to kind of warm us up to the topic of frontline transformation. What I want to talk about here, just to prime this conversation, is, starting with kind of acknowledging the fact that there are lots of macroeconomic supply chain and workforce challenges right now, kind of coming out of the pandemic. Those challenges haven't subsided as much as we might like them to have subsided. So we're rethinking how we need to address serving our workforces better to prepare them and help them automate more of the processes that they might need to do to be more productive, right? And essentially what retailers tell us, and in fact, they told us in our most recent retail survey of 800 retailers worldwide, 63% say they're very focused on store operations. It's the top area of innovation for them. There's this real sense of urgency to kind of move past these concerns about the lack of automation, lack of visibility to data, lack of the ability to kind of drive work from insights and data to accomplish bringing together digital and physical spaces to be more productive. So The other thing that our surveys reveal is that retailers want to be more resilient and sustainable, so they're investing in their futures, right? So they're putting in place those capabilities that enable their businesses to be more resilient and sustainable, but also to be more profitable. Notwithstanding the fact that customer experience is still our number one initiative, operational efficiency and employee productivity follow that very closely. So next slide. To be successful now and in the future, the workforce experience is paramount. And what does that look like? It looks like, exactly how our human experience looks. We're mobilized, we communicate with mobile devices in our hands, we have access to data and information readily at our fingertips. One of our predictions in our 2023 predictions this year was that 75% of enterprise retailers will double their pre-pandemic deployments of mobile devices for associates to empower their employees to improve customer service through continuous learning, communication, and operational guidance. That doesn't mean it necessarily has to be a rugged device. It might be a device that the employee brings to work and the employee empowers the retailer empowers that employee to use. So in any case, in this way, we can automate more of that engagement that the employee is going to experience. And then finally, there are a lot of different investments that a retailer can make to empower the employee, to engage the employee. All of this supports improving customer experience. In fact, 81.3% of retailers agree that there's a strong relationship between employee experience and customer experience. 40% consider it large or significant. 27.8% of respondents to our survey said that improved customer experience is an important business driver behind the work transformation initiatives in their organizations. The engaged employee with the right access to data and tools is a more satisfied employee. And this improves productivity, operational efficiency, customer service, and employee retention.
So Leslie, thank you for that level set. That's really going to be helpful in kind of guiding our conversation to come. So my first question to you is, with all of the challenges you showed us on that prior slide, why are some retailers still struggling to really expand their digital transformation, particularly in stores and for frontline workers?
Yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done to prepare for those kinds of transformations, right? It's cultural, it requires technology investment, it requires aligning functions across the organization. So it's complex, right? It's just not easy. However, what we're seeing is more and more retailers are working with their partners to discover what those best practices are for moving forward, and everybody starts in a different place. So, it can be difficult to kind of chart that path forward, what comes first. But I have to tell you, our data shows significant increases, on a year-over-year percentage basis in these investments in communication, in the social networks, the ability to operationalize sharing information and making our people more productive.
That's great. Now I'll turn to one of our practitioners, Don. Same question, why is it such a struggle to digitally transform stores and frontline workers from your perspective?
That's a great question. I definitely think that, when you start looking at physical to digital transformation, there is a change management process that you have to put into effect. And I think, for Leslie, I think a lot of companies that have been used to doing things a certain way, using legacy systems, right? It's turning that mentality, or changing the mentality to a digital first mentality versus what I've done over the last 50 years. I think that is one of the things that we see as an impetus that's preventing people from moving in this direction. As far as we're concerned, we're actually, creating more of a roadmap that helps not only with the change management process, but actually digs a lot deeper into understanding the value of the data associated with moving in a physical to digital manner. And I think, ultimately, the data is what is going to be able to tell the story better than anything else from our perspective.
Yes, 100%. And you're so right about, it's not just about buying the technology and deploying it. Change management is 70% of the struggle to be able to get adoption and use of the technology that you provide. So really, really important. Shobit, do you want to chime in here?
Yeah, happy to, Shiv. Thanks. I totally agree with Dawn, but bringing in a bit of a UK and European flavor to this as well. I think retail within the European markets is always a bit of a balancing act. Besides all of the macroeconomic forces that Leslie alluded to, I mean, of course, in this part of the world there are several additional things at play as well, and especially 2-3 things I wanted to highlight. E-commerce, has obviously steadily been growing across the globe. In the European, and especially in the UK, for example, it's almost 30%. So, customers and most retailers are, rethinking about stores, and many of them are sort of succumbing to CVA's kind of approaches to reduce their network. But of course, we've had the Brexit as well in the UK, and the sort of demand and supply situation around labor has been extremely difficult, not to mention the inflation. So the balancing act was really about viability of a lot of the retail businesses as well. But in all of this, essentially, are that the successful retail, I think their view on the store is changing. I mean, instead of the store being seen as a place where transaction will happen, I think a lot of the successful retailers are also thinking about it as a place where customers will experience, their brand. And I'm sure Marty will add more to that. And therefore, with that sort of change, which is where I think those who are sort of thinking on that line think that frontline workers are truly important, and therefore, sort of technology has a big role to play.
So what do employees expect today, at Dollar General, elsewhere? What is their hierarchy of needs, and how can retailers meet them?
Well, our employees are expecting that we're investing in their own experience so that they can deliver the best retail experience for their customers. That means they want technology that is easy to use, never breaks, and allows them to be responsive to their customer needs. When something does not work and they cannot serve the customer, they need to have multiple ways to reach out for help. So we're working with our partners on service portals, live chat with technical support that can get them solutions quickly, smart IVR to allow them to receive fast, and very importantly, personalized experiences. Just like we're investing in delivering a distinctive, consistent customer experience across all channels, we must do the same for our employees. It is important that we're investing in mapping out not only the customer journey, but the employee journey to create for them an omni-channel experience that allows them to manage all aspects of their daily operations. They want control.
Wow, that's really very thoughtful. retailers are so concerned about customer experience these days, but there's less thought put into what does that employee journey look like, and how do we give that as much gravity and as much weight in how we plan our strategies as those of the customers. Because I think Leslie said it earlier, 84-85% of retailers will tell you, it probably could be even higher, that a great customer experience is contingent upon great employee experience and a happy employee. So that's terrific. Shohit, would you want to add anything more to that?
Yeah. I mean, I think the main headline summary, what we understand, what employees would expect is, I think a lot has been done on the consumer experience side. Both, there's a lot of art and science been applied to understand and to improve that. I think employees expect consumer grade experience now to come into their own hands, and especially talking about frontline employees. In retail, we all know, right, about 75 to 80% of staff is frontline. And I think the data point is 75% of them already use some form of technology, but a majority of that is outdated. So as we understand, a lot of the frontline staff now expect context to be understood. What is the role that you are in? What are you doing? If you're a store manager, or if you're in another role, then can the services and can the technology be customized, to what they are doing? So I would say, persona-based services, and of course a lot of self-service as well. I think they would want a lot of empowerment in terms of being able to do what they want to do at the point they want to do it. So reduce the iterations and all of that. So I would say bringing consumer grade experience into the hands of employees.
That's a great answer. So, we've been talking about how important it is to get the devices in the hand of every employee, and how retailers are investing in that now in a bigger way than they have in the past. So what are the challenges and the struggles in doing that? Is it about adoption? Can we dig a little deeper into all the nits and gnats around technology adoption?
Yeah, of course, right. Technology is just one aspect of it, right? Many of our customers where we are talking to, as Shobit mentioned, right, they have a problem of where to start, right? The first step should be to understand the user personas, as Shobit mentioned, understanding unique needs of different user personas, and then it would help you prioritize your investment, right? You can't run in 10 different directions. There are n number of technologies available in the market. Based on your budget and priorities, then you have to take those decisions accordingly, right? Maybe a simple collaboration solution is something which users are looking for. In my view, to enable a frontline worker, right, there are three aspects of it. First is having a proper device, right, an efficient device. The device acts as a bridge between technology and the user. You can have a best-in-class technology, right, but if the device, right, it is painfully slow, it hangs in front of incoming customer, right, that's going to be a very bad advertisement for the organization, right? Second is, of course, you need to have right fit of devices and persona based, right, as I have mentioned in the first point. Maybe a store manager, right, they would have entirely different set of requirement vis-a-vis a store associate, so that needs to be considered. Second is having a proper collaboration platform in place, right, which can act as a single front end for the users. Many of the frontline workers, they complain about toggle tags, right? They have 5 different portals to go to. They hop in and hop off between different systems, right, and then adds to a lot of stress. Also, it wastes a lot of productive time, right? Even if they are wasting 3 minutes of their time in an 8-hour shift, over a period of time, that is going to be a significant productivity wastage, right? So a simple solution which can integrate with n number of systems, whether it is SAP, Oracle, any enterprise systems, a simple system to check for the inventory levels. We can bring that all in a simple collaboration solution like MS Teams, right? That is something which we are experimenting with. MS Teams based frontline solution in many of our customers' environment. And the good part is, because users are already familiar, right? Dawn mentioned and Mehdi also mentioned that user experience and user centricity is important. The technology which is being rolled out, right? It should be very easy and simple for frontline workers to use, right? It should reduce their work stress and not complicate things for them, right? So such solution, they come in handy, reduces a lot of work stress. And the last one is, of course, efficient support services, right? We of course are talking about device experience and employee experience. So experience is a subjective term, right? With the same device and solution service, users might say that my experience is great, and another employee might say that I'm not happy, right? So how do you quantify it? There are DEX platforms, right? Digital experience platforms, which we have successfully deployed in office space, right? For the users working on laptops and desktops. We are trying to extend the same concept on the devices which frontline workers are using, right? So the platform can monitor different parameters. It can quantify the experience on the scale of 1 to 10, and the leaders, right, business leaders, they can see how their overall enterprise is faring on the scale of 1 to 10. If it is 8, right, how they are placed in terms of peers in the market. And if it is 8, they can further drill down. They can see if London is doing 9 and maybe New York is just 7, right? Why it is 7? What sort of investment they need to make to bring that experience up, right? So for me, right, it would be a 3-pronged approach, a simple solution, and of course proper employee champions, right? I think adoption would be taken care of if this technology is very simple to use.
Ask, from these frontline employees, who are their champions in most retailers? Like who's driving this change, and who's being their advocate in terms of getting the right digital tools and the right digitization of business process in their hands. And Matty, I want to start with you on that, because you answered what's important to them. So who's advocating for them?
So every leader in the organization that is involved in the transformation must be an employee champion. At every meeting, ask the participants, what would the frontline employees say about the decisions that we just made, about what we're going to bring to them? The right digital savvy leaders understand that digital transformations require cultural and behavioral changes. The frontline employee needs to be involved in that selection and the design of the tools that they will use to serve the customers. They are the best source of information of what digitization is needed and how it can be best implemented, and most importantly, adopted, so that we realize the benefits that we're looking for. When the employees are engaged and they generate their own ideas about how they can best support their customers, and they receive them from us what they ask for, success is guaranteed, right? Digital transformations must have defined tracks of work for change management. In the transformations I have been engaged with, we call the transformation office, and they are dedicated to the change effort and to ensure that all the process changes and activities that are going to be put in place to deliver the new technology are designed to empower the employee to work in the new ways that they need to work in to delight the customer, and in the ways that we need them to realize the benefits of what are very large investments in moving from where we are to a digital world.
That's a great point. I mean, again, we said it earlier, but it's at the end of the day, it's not the technology, it's the adoption and the use of it, right? And having the right champions in place to drive that from a leadership perspective is so important. So wrapping all of that up a little bit, so what is important to the business? What's the benefit to the business of empowering frontline workers with technology? Don, I'm going to go to you first on this.
Yeah, great conversation, by the way. And I think when you take the bits and pieces that have been spoken of, Shobit had mentioned about having the personas, and Matty had mentioned about, having everybody on board. And I will share the sentiment with that. I think from a collaborative perspective, again, going back to the power of the data that you collect as a result. An example of that is on the laundress side, our primary customer an end user would be at a hotel. That could be a front of house manager, it could be a general manager, and it can go all the way up to collaborating with ownership or a brand, a particular. All those different personas are getting different type of information. However, the power user is the frontline worker. The power user is the one who are using devices to gather the data that's needed to help the regional operations team or the COO make decisions in real time. So I think the balance of this is really having a collaborative effort, making sure that the data and the progression points that you get from each of these members ties into the relevancy of the position. And so I think that's where, again, the change management process comes in. I think there's a little bit in the data, in the analysis that you could get from Frontline all the way to an ownership or a brand. And I think that's where you start really seeing the power of the transformation.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's about leveraging those voices at the front line that are with your customers every day and getting that feedback and really incorporating it into the business strategy. I mean, that's awesome. Anil, do you want to chime in on that one too?
Absolutely. I think there are two aspects that I want to cover. One is a lot of decisions around technology in today's world are taken in corporate office, many a times driven by all the new buzzwords around there is AI, how do I adopt it? There is data that I'm gathering from so many sources. How do I make benefit of that? I was talking to a retailer, a very well-known retailer, who's been taking consumer data. You go buy groceries, you generate all of this data. They have terabytes of data out there, but how do you apply that to when the customer walks in the store or online or your online channel? That feedback is sometimes best gathered by frontline workers, and we often tend to not have them in the key strategic decision making times, but we want them to be frontline when we are rolling them out, and there is some disconnect that creeps in times. So one aspect that I want to definitely cover is how do we bring these two elements together from the boardroom to the retail alleys? How do we bring it together to something? Being a technologist for many decades, what is it that I'm seeing being an impediment to rolling out something? If you look at corporate systems, if you look at a lot of office going people, we were immediately able to work from home because our systems are geared up for a lot more innovation. But when it comes to systems in retail and technology in retail, there are two or three things that I'm seeing as challenge. Not to say that that can't be overcome, but this is what most retailers are facing, and I'll put them in three buckets, and maybe we can dive a bit deeper as we go along. First is around the technical debt that a lot of retailers carry. A lot of applications, a lot of technology which was created around 70s, 80s, 90s is monolith applications, not so much connected in today's world, one-to-one integrations and so on. Unlocking them and utilizing everything that's available today, it's taking and sometimes capital intensive. Second part, especially when it comes to retail technology, over time it has grown into a very heterogeneous environment. We have now mobiles that come into place. I have dealt with situations where you have an iOS app. The moment you continue to upgrade, there are zero-day vulnerabilities that are found. You have to ensure that you are meeting the compliance standards and be able to deal with them. So a long answer to what is hampering this innovation is the people aspect of bringing this together, the cultural aspect of involving everybody in the change, as Matty talked about, right up to the retail workers, and the technology and security part that in today's world has become so important that vulnerabilities have to be plugged in, because you're dealing with PII data, you're dealing with customer data, and that takes time to roll out.
Could I,
So
Sue,
true.
is it all
That
right?
was
Could
a
I add a
really
couple
good
of
deep
points
dive.
to? I was checking if I could just add a couple of points to a very detailed response from Anil.
Please do.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I think you asked, why is this important? I mean, I think see, what we are seeing is like we all agreed, the frontline workers constitute a majority of the staff for retailers, and there are two clear reasons. One, I think there is a crisis. I mean, they are all retailers are struggling in terms of their ability to attract and retain staff, and especially frontline staff. And the second is goes back to the changing shape of the store itself. Just from being transactional to more experiential, and therefore the second important factor is giving more curated intelligence in the hands of your frontline colleagues, who can then have a meaningful conversation with your customers and essentially convert into customer experience and increase sales. So those are the two important things, and I believe that technology has a good role to play in terms of bringing culture and data together in both aspects, giving more importance and making frontline workers career path and role important, and the ability to empower them. It's a cultural change, not just a technology change. And what we've seen in many of our customer engagements is cultural change is not an easy thing, but when you combine that with data, you show transparently what is working, what is not working. That is then when it starts to happen. So I would say the two important things, and the importance of technology is to bring culture and data together, in empowering the frontline staff.
We've talked a lot about, what's important to the frontline worker, what's in it for the retailer to empower their frontline worker, what the challenges are and the struggles. But now I'll ask, the question that's always at top of mind for retailers. How do they know once they start down this path of transforming the store experience, the employee experience, that they're succeeding? How do they measure? I mean, it's difficult to measure customer and employee experience improvements. It's easier to measure when it backslides, but it's hard to measure incremental improvement. And when tech is deployed, how do we know that that's having an impact over that improvement? And I was wondering, Leslie, from an IDC perspective, do you guys have research that would kind of lead us to KPIs and metrics that retailers can use or look at?
Yeah, for sure. And before I actually list a couple of KPIs, I wanted to just add on to the last comments about this cultural shift. I mean, we have to remember who we're hiring, right? Who are we hiring into retail? These are younger generations. They have a very strong sense of digital community, right? They have a very strong sense of engaging online to get information. And if we don't give them these tools, right, they're going to go rogue on us. They're going to go find their own sources of information. They're going to go to our commerce sites to look information up to see if we have inventory when we need to be giving them that information. And managing that, managing how they access things. And all of this requires integration to so many different bits of information that can best be served with platforms that pull it together, right? And connect that, build that sense of belonging community through information and access to people and information. So in any case, long story short, so how do we measure it? We, first of all, have to shift our thinking around what we're measuring. And we are still measuring customer experience and sales, right? So we're going to look at those traditional measures of sales performance and customer experience. so through surveys, through ratings, has the experience shifted for them? What do they say about our employees and the information that they get from them? But then we also have to think about that employee kind of as our own customer, right? They're a customer of our organization. And so with that said, how do we enable them to voice their opinion about their ability to do their job and serve our customers, right? So that requires, again, probably some surveys and open channels for communication, for two-way dialogue. So those are a couple of things. I mean, the other thing, what is the work that they're doing? Perhaps they're making sure shelves are stocked. They're making sure that curbside pickups are picked up efficiently. So on each one of these jobs that they do, we can measure how well they've done it by, in-stock positions, by amount of time took to serve a customer, that sort of thing. So those are some of the ways we see retailers trying to measure employee experience and the success.
That's great guidance. And Don, I wonder if you have anything else to add to that.
No, I think what we're all talking about is, I think this is, if we look at it from the lens that Leslie had just mentioned, being able to, have some of those automations in place, being able to collect some of those data points, allows those front-hand workers to really spend more time with engaging in the customer, as opposed to being bogged down with other responsibilities that are generally outside the scope of the customer experience. So I think that from our end, again, being more data centric and more data focused, I think, and using some of the tools that are available now, you can actually start understanding the points that would tie into an enhanced customer experience as a result of making sure that you have the tools in place for your frontline retail workers.
That's great. And I'll just add that, at Microsoft, we've done a little bit of our own work to try to measure this. We've done a couple of total economic impact studies around teams for frontline workers, one back in July of 2022, and then we repeated it in April of this year. And we'll continue to do those more longitudinal studies to start to measure impacts and how the metrics are changing. We look at overall ROI, we look at better collaboration, improved customer experience like everyone's talked about, efficiency in terms of time usage. And then another metric that we've looked at is, how much have we minimized mistakes? Because now there's a communication channel, there's an ability to close the loop on tasks and do all those things. So you definitely can start to measure some of those things over time as you deploy some of these frontline technologies for sure. Now I'm just going to give everyone an opportunity to give some closing remarks and kind of just set the stage for coming to a conclusion, but also for recapping what it is we've talked about here today. And I'll start with you, Leslie.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Sue. This has been a really good roundtable. So, I would just say that retailers really need to, as everybody has said, pull together a real committee of experts from across their business. There's going to be folks involved from every aspect, because we want this collaboration and communication to be centered around all the information that is important to the customer, and that means we have to make it available to the employee. And so, dust off any of those kind of standard operating procedures you might have had from the past in managing frontline workforce, and involve a broader community to really come together and find what this roadmap should be to build a capability that's going to deliver value immediately, but also continue to enable the organization to change and adapt as that employee and the customer adapt to the changing times.
That's great. And now to our partner, HCLTech. Neil, would you like to start?
Uh, Absolutely, and I don't need to repeat that more engaged employees are more productive employees, and vice versa. More innovative companies tend to have more engaged employees, and they continue to contribute together. And some of that between the two, new technology is playing a lot of role in driving innovation further, getting employees engaged a little bit more, having them connected a little bit more. I mean, earlier physical interaction was the only way, but that's just changed so much over the last 2 years that we have tools and technologies available to an all-inclusive innovation culture. And the more we can do about that, we'll have more engaged employees, we'll have more innovative companies, and we would eventually see a lot more results in the outcomes and then the growth. So we just want to bring, as I said, a theme that we have taken is how do we converge people, data, and technology towards betterment of the solutions is what we are driving towards.
Oh, that's great. And I love that phrase, all-inclusive innovation culture. That really summarizes everything we've been talking about today. That's awesome. Shobit, would you like to also add on to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, a great conversation, by the way. Thank you very much. I think we well established the why, investing in frontline workers is important and critical for the retail industry. And I think we've also established that, there are now platforms and technology and hardware. I mean, there's enough advancement in these to be able to bring, the enterprise, the consumer experience or the enterprise user kind of experience to the frontline workers. I think as HCLTech, the role we play for our retail customers is the job of integrating this all. And especially in large customers, once you start integrating this into HR systems, into supply chain systems, which is what you want to do, to integrate it into HR systems, so as you're managing shifts, I mean, it goes directly, into payroll and things like that. So that's where the complexity lies. That's where we come in. And I think what we believe is, as and when customers begin on this journey, I think there'll be lots more that will be happening over here. So I think this is a very exciting space.
Completely agree. And I'm going to turn it over to Arun to take us home on the closing.
Yeah, so I would say that while technology is of course essential in empowering frontline workers, especially in retail, there would of course be adoption specific challenges which many of our customers face as they go ahead. Organizations, they need to address identity issues, right? Many of the organizations, they don't even have identities created for frontline workers, right? They need to have suitable user-centric software solutions in place, and the need or the expectation should be captured from the users, right? And it should not be top-down, as our business leaders, Matti and Don, also mentioned, right? So that is something which, if taken care of, right, if all these aspects are taken care of, I believe organizations, they can overcome struggles and unlock the full potential of technology, right, which we are trying to roll out in frontline worker space. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And Shobit, would you like to close us out and conclude the session for us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, I want to thank Matti and Don. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, you were saying something.
I work with Matti almost on a daily basis, where probably thousands of workers that call into her. So Matti, I would definitely want you to call out a final statement here.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, absolutely. I was going in your direction anyway.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and love the conversation. It it's great when you're with groups of leaders and with your partners, seeing how you're thinking around how we need to continue to evolve the employee experience so that they can delight the customers and we can gain the loyalty and the return customers to the stores is so critical. And with the partnerships that we're developing, we are bringing opportunities that are unique in terms of how the employees engage with the technology. And what we need to remember is that for us, our part is to ensure that we're bringing in the right type of talent to our retail stores so that we can make use of the technology that we're putting at their hands. And that involves the organization also changing their thinking around talent, right? We talk about how difficult it is to get the good technical talent that can help with these digital transformations, but it also extends to, are we bringing the right talent to our retail stores? And the manner in which you can bring the right talent to the retail store is because you have solutions that your partners are helping you to deliver that allow them to engage with the technology and with the data in a way that is meaningful to them, where when they are at work, they can interact how they need to interact to be able to give the customer the best possible experience. So it all comes together very nicely. So these partnerships are extremely important, and learning from HCL has just been a great experience for me as we think about how we continue to evolve the employee experience and really meet the needs that they have, as we have learned from what should be their journey. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks a lot, Matty, and really, it was a pleasure to have you on the panel, and good luck with changing the experiences of all the employees, at Dollar General, and especially 19,000 stores, and that 19,000 will keep increasing. I'm sure. So, good luck with that. And thanks a lot, Don. I think it was really interesting to hear about the platform and the whole data angle to it. It's right. I think it's right at the heart of what we were talking about.